Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today we'll be doing Galaxy Eyes. Before we start, I'd just like to say thank you all for this large amount of support. I'm absolutely surprised that those last two videos actually got that many views. But with that, let's get started.
I'll never forget this day. I'll never forget this day.
Izuku and Nezu were sitting in the teacher's lounge, with a pot of tea between them. So, not only do I get a hero's license after I furnish months, but in that time, I get to mess with a bunch of teens, Izuku said before downing his tea in one gulp. Well, I do expect you to teach them as well. However, in essence, yes. Nezu wasn't going to think about how the tea was hot enough to peel flesh off bone, and instead sat there, blowing on his own. Well then, I am in. Izuku had started to drink out the entirety of the pot now. Okay, here is your schedule. Izuku looked at the sheet as he drained another cup. Um, this said I'm supposed to be in class 2 minutes from now. Yes, it does. Izuku blinked at him before racing out of the room. Nezu chuckled. That's what you get for drinking all of my tea. He then brought his cup to his lips, only to find it empty. Izuku raced down the corner and threw the oversized door open. Alright, I ran down 12 flights of stairs whilst getting changed, jumped the courtyard with my shirt off, and I'm still the first one here. How slow are these people? Izuku straightened the tie on his uniform, which was kinda like the students, but also entirely different. It had a different color scheme, in essence. What the hell is this writing? He then, seeing no one coming, he decided to lean against the wall next to the door and closed it. Seriously, what the hell's with this grammar? It's kind of starting to piss me off. Continuing on, after the first couple of people came in, Izuku realized he was in fairly well hidden spot, so he decided to stay there for a bit. After all the students entered, Aizawa, who Izuku had seen lurking about for a while now, flopped down in front of the door. When someone noticed him, he got out of his sleeping bag and started lecturing them. As he finished lecturing them, Aizawa said, I was supposed to have another teacher here, but apparently he decided not to show. So, naturally, Izuku slung his arm over Aizawa's shoulder while smiling, and said, What you talking about? I was the first guy here. Then Aizawa merely grumbled. The class gasped as they recognized him. A blue-haired boy spoke up. Why is a known criminal and vigilante in this school as a teacher? Izuku decided to answer. Well, legally, I am gaining work experience from my teacher's degree, while also continuing my study of heroics, as he did air quotes while saying study. A pink-haired girl said, And what are you really doing? Izuku put a finger to his chin. Well, same thing really, though I don't have a degree in teaching. With that, he walked out, heading to the PE area. After threatening the students with expulsion, they watched, and it soon became apparent who would be staying. Aizawa tallied up the scores, and said, Hatekagaru. I did see potential, but it seems you'll be the one going home. Unless you have anything to add. It was true. The girl did have potential. Her quirk allowing her to control electronics, something she used against those with technological quirks like Ida. She could have used it to alter her scores, but she was far too honorable for that. And that was exactly the problem. The girl was so idealistic in a way, she was sheltered. By kicking her out this year, it would show her reality and test her resolve. If she comes back and tries again next year, she'll be worth it. He had no defense for her, however, he saw someone else that needs to be condemned. Surai. Despite placing 10th, his flaws far outweigh his skills in ways no school can change. In other words, he was a narcissist, lazy asshole who looked at all the girls in a way that even creeped out the grape boy, who was in fact one of the few to notice. It seems Aizawa agreed with him as he nodded. You are correct in your assessment. He's unteachable. Now you two pack your bags, you're both going home. You're welcome to try again next year. Hatakagure started to nod, but Sare launched a yellow beam at Izuku while screaming, "Fuck you!" Izuku watched it come and lazily swung his arm, sending it back to Surai. Did you not know I fought All Might and Endeavor at the same time? Or are you stupid? Surai got up and ran away yelling stuff about how he'd regret this. Wow, what an asshole. Back to the story. Uh, Hatakurigi. Christ, I can't pronounce their names. Apologies. Spoke after this display, a tear in her eye. Goodbye. And Aizawa sensei, thank you for saying you saw potential in me. I will see you again next year. She then walked away, wiping her tears. Izuku could only hope that she kept that promise. Overly dramatic time skip! Izuku sat down quietly in a classroom doing schoolwork. Schoolwork, thankfully. He was saved when All Might burst into the room. Like a normal person, he strutted to the podium and said, Hello, class. Today we will be doing hero training. The class erupted in cheers, and Izuku incinerated his schoolwork. Quite literally. Now, before we begin, we have to get you all in uniform. Out of the wall popped out a couple of suitcases. Ah, and Izuku, while you may be a teacher for this activity, you will still need to be in character. So, here. All Might thrust out a suitcase that Izuku hesitantly took. Laying it down, Izuku pulled out a hero suit that kinda looked like the knight's armor. On the chest plate there was a couple of lines and dots that vaguely looked like a constellation. Ha! He got the galaxy eyes down. Izuku gave All Might a blank look. What is this? All Might's sweat dropped at his tongue. Nezu believes you may need a white knight look so as to be accepted. Izuku tossed it to the side and looked back at the case. And what's under that? All Might was briefly puzzled before saying, Midnight did mention something about making up a backup suit for you, because you would hate that. Oh boy, here we go! Izuku slowly looked over the second outfit. Well, she was right. And Nezu knows he fucked up when I'd rather wear something made by Midnight. Later, as the students exited the tunnel, they saw All Might in his Silver Age costume. Mina spotted him and said, Hey, nice gear sometimes, Teach. Thank you, pink person I've never bothered learning the name of. Wow. I. Okay, on to the story. The suit in question consisted of a very dark purple tank top, the stomach alternating between the actual shirt and belts, four in total with all silver buckles. The lowest belt had a large waistcloth, split at the front and a bit at the back, with a flag over it hanging off of his right side. The flag had a constellation on it, this time clearly resembling an eye. The cloth covered a bit less than a third of his waist. He had a normal pants and fingerless gloves that went about to his elbow on his left arm. The final piece was a black, strapless eye patch. Izuku ignored her, stating her name, and then clapping his hands. His eye closed, and a wide grin on his face. Now you will all have to fight for my amusement. Oh, and your improvement. That's important too, I suppose. Izuku then began to call names in a completely random order. Also, I don't know why, but the scriptwriter decided to make Bakugo a chick. So, yeah, I'm gonna regret reading this. Well, looks like I won't have to read it because that's all the time I have. Thank you all for joining me today. Do be prepared for one of my own works. What if Deku was chosen by the Traveler? With that out of the way, subscribe, like the video. If you have something to say, comment down below. I will see you all next time. Goodbye.